fighting is far from over.
Not for this exercise.
Welcome to Back of the Rack, a gaming videocast about games long neglected and not respected, games that everyone's heard of or hated, or no one's heard of and loved. We play the games in between the essentials and the unwanted, but mostly, we play what we want on this podcast. Join our Discord where you can talk with us and others about Back of the Rack games, and make sure to like and comment on our videos and leave good reviews on the podcast feeds. Your feedback and engagement is the fuel that keeps us going. We hope everyone watching and listening is doing great, and we thank you for joining us today on another episode. Starting off, we will introduce this month's game with a scripted segment giving you all the details, and then we will go into our unscripted thoughts about the game shortly afterwards. I'm Sondi, and with me always is Bendezzer. So without further ado, enjoy.
So after the development of Kingdom Hearts 2, our boater superstar, Tetsuya Nomura, which I say because we mention him almost every episode, he came up with an idea for an action RPG that sort of could improve upon the formula set in the Kingdom Hearts series. So initially, the game was sort of centered around Organization 13 and their unique movesets, which would have been super cool. That sort of fit the main framework. This was later reworked into Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, or however the hell you say that. And instead, a Final Fantasy spin-off for the series' 20th anniversary was greenlit. Nomura decided to give the reins to the younger staff at Square, like Takeshi Arakawa, who served as the director of Dissidia, and Mitsunori Takahashi as lead designer. This sort of allowed the junior staff to get experience in leadership roles. Now, they weren't by themselves, so with the help of an all-star cast of Final Fantasy veterans, Dissidia was sort of melded into a fighting game with RPG elements. This is boasting art design from both Nomura and Yoshitaka Amano, a score by Takahiro Ishimoto and Nobuo Uematsu. So Dissidia was essentially shaping up to be this love letter for fans of the series. I mean, we're talking over 20 playable characters from the first 12 mainline Final Fantasy games. Not only that, but some of these characters have never been seen in 3D. They were only pixels and 2D designs from Amano. So they were brought to life with like the PSP graphical engine, and they look gorgeous. So, as you all know, Dissidia is a 3D arena fighter, similar to many anime fighters like Naruto Ninja Storm and the Dragon Ball Tenkaichi series. Players can fly around the map freely, using the environment to wall run, grind rails, and just dash anywhere. Instead of simply chipping away at a life bar like most fighting games, Dissidia differentiates itself with the bravery system. So as you deal damage with these bravery moves, you slowly build up the bravery gauge. And once this gauge reaches more than the HP of the enemy you're fighting, you can unleash a devastating HP attack to sort of wipe out your foe in one shot. Alongside this sort of tug of war battle for bravery, players can break the limits with the EX mode or X mode. This mode serves as a way to unleash the series staple flashy ultimate attacks, and that also can grant specific buffs based on the character. Dissidia leans into its RPG roots with its story mode. Now each character sort of gets a story that takes place on a board game-like play space. Now players can move their character piece across this board to find treasure chests, fight challenge battles, and you can power up your character to take on harder challenges. Each level up unlocks new moves and equipment to augment your stats as well, staying true to the RPG nature of the Final Fantasy series. There's also the roguelike Coliseum mode, where players compete in arenas for treasure. And speaking of treasure, players can spend PP. What does that even stand for? They can spend these points from those battles in the catalog, and that can unlock characters, alternate outfits, background music from past Final Fantasy games, and other gallery items such as like 3D models where you can spin around a 3D model and just really soak up that PSP goodness because those models looked amazing. So Dissidia actually reviewed well, and many critics enjoyed the fighting game take on Final Fantasy and really praised the deep RPG mechanics, quote unquote. And it sold well even with the rampant piracy of the PSP, selling over 1.9 million lifetime copies, which is a ton. And Dissidia's success led to a new spin-off series, with a sequel being greenlit a couple years down the road. Dissidia 012, however the hell you want to say it. This second Dissidia sort of serves as a narrative prequel to the first game. That was released in 2011. And then Dissidia NT was the more later release for arcades and PS4. This actually changed the gameplay to a 3v3 team battler. And then the latest release, well, that's been delisted. That was a mobile gacha game titled Opera Omnia, which I don't think I've ever even seen gameplay for. But Dissidia ultimately looked like a promising venture into the fighting game genre for Square. That was sadly, Square made some iffy choices with both NT and Opera Omnia, but still, in spite of that, I think most people remember the first time seeing their favorite Final Fantasy characters battling it out in the gorgeously animated opening cinematic. And you know what? I think that is what makes this such a rose-tinted choice for Back of the Rack. Dissidia, let's go into presentation. Why don't you go first? Because I feel like I haven't even looked at the doc because I have my notes on a separate thing. You can lead since you probably put more hours into it, right? How many hours do you think you put into it?
I did everything possible. I bought everything in the PP catalog. And that's when I ended playing the game. But I guess first, where did you hear about? I almost said Dragon's Dogma. Look at me.
Dragon's Dogma 3.
When did you first hear about Dissidia?
Dissidia is one of those games that I think it's one of those games that benefits from like the nostalgia goggles that we have as adults when we look back at things and we're like, man, Dissidia was badass. It was so cool, I remember I was a huge PSP kid, and I remember picking it up, and it was one of those games where, again, I felt like I got away with fucking murder because it felt like a game that would be like $100, and I think I bought it for like $10.99 or some shit, like a really like low price. And when I booted that bitch up, and all those characters, like the CG cutscene in the beginning, I just remembered like, damn, this is like, and I think I was maybe in, what year did it come out? 2007? Because I was probably 2009. Yeah, okay. So then it was high school then.
Yeah,
I was in high school. Yeah, I was in high school when this shit popped. When I was playing it, I was trying to like be like knowledgeable about who the fuck was who, because I didn't realize how big Final Fantasy was. Like I knew Cloud. I remember seeing Squall and recognizing him, and then but all the other characters, I'm like, who the fuck are these people?
Who the fuck is Bartz?
Yeah, like is there a whole game with like these characters? And there is. They just don't look like that. They look like that on the art, and this is like their 3D. So I was like very confused at the time, but it was a game that I was like, this is so cool. It's like fucking playing Advent Children. Like all the animations were there, and I just remember it just being one of those games that sort of blew me away as a high schooler, not a little kid, but just one of those special games. I wanted to put it in my like, if you cut me open, what games would fall out, but it's not, unfortunately. It is a very important game, and I think it is one that like the genealogy of this game, because we were talking about arena fighters. And I feel like this game is like one of those games that sort of that other games built upon, to like, it was like because I'm trying to think of what the first arena fighter, or not the first, but what the first major arena fighter was, and I guess Budokai Tenkaichi.
Yeah,
like
Tenkaichi
those were
3,
kind of. Those are
There was the Clash of Ninja Naruto games. And then Ninja Storm was out by this time. Yeah, pretty much every anime game was pretty much like this at the time.
And that's still true. That's still true.
Still to this day.
I think Square was really pushing this like heightened, stylized, like fighting with all their characters, like super, just very stylish, sleek combat, which was also pushed in what's that game or the movie Advent Children. So it was just very action focused, and as a kid you're like, wow, everyone does cool shit, and like
they're flying around. Look at them, you shoot light.
I remember struggling as a kid with it too. I remember like not quite being able to beat a lot of characters, getting stuck, and like it was a game I wanted to play more, but I couldn't because when I had to get stuck somewhere, and I'd be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna play,
I'm gonna
some
play
other
Secret
PSP
Agent
game. I'm gonna play Joan d'Arc or something, like I would It just, I think the progression, because it's a fighting game, so it's like there's only so much you can really do before you're just like, fuck, you're just banging your head against trying to like surpass certain people and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I also had a little bit of experience with the second one as well, which I remember liking more, but we're not here to talk about that one. So.
In another time, in the sequel.
Yeah,
season.
I'll just fuck off.
Yeah, I played this game as a kid, but I never played the full game. I only played the demo. I played the fuck out of the demo. I was trying to look up real quick when the PlayStation Network attacks happened.
Yeah, that was like 2010, I think.
Yeah, around that time. I just remember this was one of the demos I had downloaded. So I would always go and download whatever the new demos and new stuff that was on PSP at the time. And I just would re-download Dissidia and play that. And the PlayStation Network went down, so that's all I could play. It was like, I'm playing this and I'm playing Monster Hunter Freedom. That's all I got. But I enjoyed it as a kid, but I guess it was more for the anime aesthetic, because that's back when I would role play a lot when playing my games. I'd be like, I'm this character and this is how it's going to be. Like, trying to orchestrate the battles, and I would deliberately getting hit. So it like, you ever play Tenkaichi and you get hit by the ultimate attack just so your clothes get ripped and then you can use your ultimate back? I would do shit like that. Like, try to make it as cinematic as possible.
Did you ever play with like toys, with physical toys?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's probably where that comes from. But I don't think I ever role played the way that you did. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was a role player, online, in person, Dungeons and Dragons. I literally just made a Dungeons and Dragons character. I still role play. I do this. But yeah, I never really got into Dissidia. It was always one of those cool things, but once again, I never played Final Fantasy. My only inkling into Final Fantasy was Kingdom Hearts as a kid. And the osmosis of being raised by the internet. Of course, about Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 10, all the characters and all that stuff like that. So seeing these characters that everybody's talking about, specifically like Kefka, all of these characters that everybody talks about is like, these are the hardest bosses ever in any video game, and seeing them in playable form like this was really cool to see, especially with the art style, because it's very Kingdom Hearts coded.
Yes.
Like, you can't not, to get into presentation, it's very Kingdom Hearts aesthetic in terms of the way that the UI is set up, the way that the characters are designed, the way that you move around. It's very floaty like Kingdom Hearts. I think Nomura really helped out in making this game exactly what it needed to be, which is just a cool ass arena fighter with Final Fantasy characters.
Yeah, I mean, the UI is definitely inspired by some of their mainline Final Fantasy games, but yeah, you're right about like the movements, and they were like, let's do Kingdom Hearts, but now let's take that like fighting style and let's give it to like every Final Fantasy character. And this was essentially like the Marvel versus Capcom of that Square was trying to, I don't know if they were trying to directly compete, but it was like one of those culturally significant, like, oh wow, it's all these characters from this one franchise coming together for
Cloud and Squall fighting against Sephiroth. Whoa.
Right, yeah. So I don't know, it was very interesting in that way. And still to this, I mean, when I see the box art for for the first one and the second one, it's still like exciting. It's always like, damn, because you kind of remember like that feeling when it was new. It was like, whoa, having all these characters realized in 3D and having them fight, and the fighting was like cool looking as hell, because fighting games have that thing where it's like, in Street Fighter, like the early ones, and even to some degree the later ones,
they're not
like,
really aesthetically cool. Like, now they're cool because they're really flashy, but back in the day it was just jab, 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 jab.
Yeah. Which, exactly. And it never felt, that always kind of bothered me. So this game like spoke to like the fucking, I don't want to say the ADHD kid, because I don't think that was like I don't think wanting more stylized action is, attributed to having ADHD, but it was just different. It was a different, like, okay, this is a lot cooler than just pressing, punch, 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 kick, and then that's the combo, and then, that's it.
Yeah, even if
I think we'll talk about
other arena fighters at the time, like Tenkaichi, like it's one button. You just press square, 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 and you're gonna do your combo. You know what a Kamehameha looks like. Like, even though it's really flashy, it's not. You've seen it in the anime, you've seen it in the manga, you've seen it in every other Dragon Ball Z video game at this time. This is the 30th game that you've played. Same with Naruto. It's like, all right, I get it. Like, I need something new. And at the time, there wasn't really anything new like this. Like, Final Fantasy, like the Warrior of Light, you're talking about the little pixel guy? He's doing this? Like,
I don't know. It was really one of those things where you could really feel that everybody was sort of on board for like this, like that, the idea of the game. I just want to talk about just the animations real quick. Like we were talking about with older fighting games, how everything was so based on like the button press, and then you would have like a frame of animation, maybe a couple frames, to punch or to kick or whatever. And then you would string those along. And it's like almost like the intention was that you had to imagine you were doing a really cool combo, because it always looks kind of lame. Like in Mortal Kombat, it looked lame. In Street Fighter,
punches.
Yeah, like you're just like, well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, And then here come the fucking Square with all of their fantasy characters from their RPG series, and then all those like moves that you've seen in, I guess, cutscenes or in like just pressing a button, you can now execute in a more real-time environment. And seeing like Cloud's cross slash, which is kind of interesting to see a lot of Cloud's movesets appear in this game, not mirror exactly, but be very similar to his moves in like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth.
Because that cross slash is like 1-to-1 from it's crazy.
Being able to do that with Tidus and Squall, and I played it as some other characters. I cannot remember their names because I'm not familiar enough with them, but all the animations are buttery smooth. I think there's a consequence of that, though, is that with the gameplay, you get locked into a lot of those animations, so like there's almost a lack of freedom, because once you start that combo, the character just kind of will do it, and you just like watch for you're like, okay, I guess
spam the same moves, because it's not like you have a giant move pool like other fighting games. So you're using the same 2 or 3 moves, and then you're using the same 1 HP attack for pretty much most of your playthrough. And it's like, I wish there was more cool stuff. Like, let me summon Knights of the Round with Cloud. Let me do cool stuff. What did you think about, speaking of presentation and animations, what did you think about the super moves, the limit breaks and stuff that they had?
I kind of felt a little, they were underwhelming. I don't know, like they're fine, right? Like they were fine, but they were underwhelming in the sense that the characters already do so many flashy things that when they finally do that big move, the only thing that's really exciting about it is that it's like more scripted. It's more of a cutscene. Yeah. And it's, and it's more damage. So like, it's a big scary move or whatever. I think, I remember in Naruto, the Ultimate Ninja Storm, the first one, I remember though their ultimate moves were fucking out of this world. Like they were leagues beyond anything that you were doing in that moment to moment combat. Like once you initiated that ultimate, it was like, holy shit, that was an ultimate.
I still vividly remember Kakashi's ultimate in the first Ninja Storm, where he does the double Chidori. Like he does like a Chidori tornado and then like doubles down. I'm like, that's insane. Like he's never doing that in the series. Like, where is he getting this from?
Yeah, like it looks better in this game than it does in its own fucking series or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I remember like Naruto's and Shikamaru's, like they all had like really elaborate. And obviously, like, I guess you could say that's attributed to the fact that it was on, a better hardware.
Yeah,
but
I think it was an elite PS3 game.
I think the that's so funny because I always think about picking it up on PS5 because it goes on sale. Like the first 3 like Ninja Storm games will often go on sale, and I'm always like, Should I pick this up? Yeah, exactly. It's like $5.99 and I'm always like, nah.
Not yet. I thought that they were pretty cool. I like the callbacks that a lot of them had. Because before this, recently, I've been trying to slowly grind myself through the Final Fantasy series so I can stop being a poser. I beat Final Fantasy 1 and 2.
Crazy.
Recently.
Unprecedented.
Thank you, Pixel Remasters, for the 4 times EXP. But I digress. It's cool to see like certain callbacks, like with Onion Knight. With his ultimate ability, you have to go through the old command menu and select the exact skill, or even free. How do you say it? Furion. How you have to use the job system, the weapon system, and choose the right skills. Like I thought that was really cool. How they implemented the main gimmicks of each Final Fantasy into each particular character. And how sometimes if you do a limit break, it isn't just a limit break and then you do your ultimate. Like Cecil, he could transform freely if you press R and circle. He can transform freely between the light and dark versions of himself, so he can use both moves freely. I thought that was pretty cool how they had those kind of things in terms of changing up the gameplay and how it all works. But in terms of the way that it's presented, and I'm going to go off a negative off the rip now. The stages were all ass. Like, it doesn't help that the characters are flashy and the characters can move and they can run up walls and fly through the air and grind on Mako energy and shit, but I can't see. Yeah. Especially the stage where it's like inside and the camera's fighting against you and getting stuck against the wall. It makes it damn near unplayable at certain times. Certain times you're playing and you're like, I'm getting hit by whatever the flashy magical thing that the Emperor's doing over there. And I'm trying to do something flashy with Titus, but all of his moves are dodges. Yeah. So I'm trying to dodge and I'm getting stuck in walls, and it can really mess you up. But I mean, hey, they tried for at least with a PSP. They tried with what they could do.
Yeah, I think I was trying to think of like how it could have been done better. The way that they implemented or designed some of these stages, because the best ones I thought were Baron, the one where it was just like an open field, where you could see the opponent straight ahead, as opposed to like running out. Like, one of the ones I hated was that like floating castle one.
Yes,
where it's
and
like
it would always change.
I'm just like, God damn, this fucking sucks. And then there's like the moon one or whatever the fuck that is. Like, that one's a little bit better, but I think it helps that you can destroy some of the environments, which is really impressive and really kind of adds to the power of each character. When you do a move and like the giant pillar breaks down, it's kind of cool. It's like, okay, cool. But yeah, the levels are definitely like I guess, I don't know, because I'm trying to think, like, it's like judging it on fighting game standards. Like, it's just,
you have to judge it on fighting game standards, because you can't judge it on RPG.
That's what I'm saying.
Standards.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, I mean,
both ways.
But one of the things about being in a level that was super like, had all these obstructions and walls and shit and tight spaces, what made it difficult too was reading the enemy's moves sometimes. I think because their animations were so flashy and elaborate, it was kind of hard to gauge sometimes like what move was about to come and like how you should react to it, unless you fought that enemy like 20 times, and then you knew like, oh, that's what's his face. I kind of know like what he might have, but
especially because there's a delay with a lot of attacks.
Yeah,
so they'll throw like, oh, it's meteor, and then the meteor won't come from this way. It'll come from this way 30 seconds later, and you'll get hit.
30 seconds. Yeah. I think the lock-on system was pretty tricky too. Having it mapped to, well, you played on PC, right?
Yeah, but I still had to. I kept fucking up because I kept pressing like, I don't know, like the emulator, it has like L1 and R1 as like save state and fast forward.
Oh, okay.
So I would sometimes press it thinking like just playing it like it's like a PSP, and I'll press R1 and I'll go to the save state screen, and I'll be like, oh fuck, I don't want to save a state. Sorry. I'm just trying to lock on again.
Yeah, the right button, I believe, maybe it's the left one, left or right trigger, they basically act as like your primary lock-on button, but they also when I say it does something else, I can't even remember now, but
because R was dodge. It was like a block button, but it wasn't like a you hold the block. It was like a parry button instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then the dodge was weird because you also had to press the dodge, but you couldn't press it forward and dodge. You had to press just not press them, land on long stick, dodge, and then press triangle, and then you dash towards them. It's really up to, but I guess that's the limitations of also of the
PSP. Yeah.
Yeah, because they probably could have just made it R2 to dash to people or something on PlayStation 2 or something like that, which brings a better question of why wasn't this released? Well, it's 2009. What am I talking about? That answered my question.
I don't know. Yeah, it felt like such a big game, and it really does feel really polished, aside from the fact that, you know, you were struggling with the camera sometimes. I think it's sort of mission-based, like, structure lends itself to the PSP more, and maybe they thought, like, I could see them in the boardroom just being like, okay, well, we need something for this new console, this PSP, you know, and what if we did like a fighter, you know, some sort of fighter, and someone's like, hey, what if we do like all the Final Fantasy characters? And they're like, cool, let's just do that. And then just, you know, make it bite-sized. And, you know, it's one of those ideas that maybe would have been better suited or maybe more fleshed out on a home console. Although with NT, they still didn't flesh it out.
They just made it 3v3, but it's still the same.
Yeah, they just made it like, it's very arcadey, so maybe they thought that was just suited for like a handheld console.
Because I think that one was an arcade port. Like I think NT was made for arcades, and then they ported it to PlayStation 4 afterwards. Yeah, but maybe because this game, I don't know, because Nomura was the director once again on this. Well, not director, it was Takeshi Arakawa, but Nomura did help conceive the idea of this game. So maybe the bones of Birth by Sleep and all that stuff are slowly meshed into it. So they were like, hey, we got the same engine. Let's just test it out.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Do some stuff. Because you can see that like this is the Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep engine right here.
Yeah, you're right. When did Birth by Sleep drop?
I want to say it was around that
Wasn't that only on DS? No, that was on PSP as well.
Yeah, that was the PSP one. That was 300, however the fuck you say it.
358 over 2 days.
358 like over 2/R coded. It came out. It came out the next year after Dissidia. Yeah, so.
Yeah, so they probably like in development at the same time and all that.
Yeah, and they were like, let's just make a test thing real quick. Here, throw this out, see how people like it, refine it, see what they don't like about it.
Yeah. That's probably what happened.
Back when you could do that.
Well, fucking Capcom still does that with making everything on the same engine, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, a little wild, you know, but I guess it makes sense. Yeah, the character models in this though, like, man, they look good. Like,
they look really good.
I just love PSP graphics. Like, they're not quite PS1 graphics, but they're not quite PS2 graphics. They're like in this medium where it's like looks clean as hell still. Like, but they're still boxy, but they're not too boxy. They still look more realistic, but like it's just very. It's great. It's great, and I think that they like there's so much detail and just style to them. I think they're just sharp as fuck, and it really just showed like the power of that system. You know that.
Yeah. Especially with that tiny screen, when you're looking away, like it pops out. Like it looks really good on every screen. Even on the emulator when I had it, even upscaling it, downscaling it, putting it at native resolution, I was like, wow, this looks really good. No matter what resolution I put it at, it looks like looks really good. What did you think of the character designs for all the characters? Specifically, like, what did you think of the pixel generation of characters and how they were reimagined? Like, because at the time, 3D, all they had was Amano's art to see like how they really look.
Yeah.
And then they got horrified.
They definitely. Yoshitaka Amano's art is so fluid and like ephemeral. Like you can't, like you see his art and it's like you can't grasp it because it just looks so wispy, you know. So it's quite a feat to like condense his art, his images into like solid 3D characters, because they do feel a little like ghostly and like, which is cool. Like I love his art, but they really did a good job of translating a lot of it, and they do feel like a good blend of a little bit of Nomura, but mainly Amano with his designs. I really liked Furion. Like he really, I was like, he looks badass. Like he really came to life in a way. And I think the Dissidia games are the only 3D version of him that we have, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, because they use his Dissidia costume in Final Fantasy 14. I think same thing with Warrior of Light. Like I think all of the pixel generation for like any costume that they use in a future Final Fantasy game is just the Dissidia outfit. And I thought it was cool too with Furion because of the weapon system. Because in Final Fantasy 2, it isn't like there isn't a class. Instead, everybody can do everything, and then you just level up.
Right?
Yeah, there isn't even a job. It's just...
Oh, no?
Yeah, so like if you want to level up your health, you just got to get hit a lot. Or if you want to level up this magic, you got to use it a lot. Or axes, swords, and stuff like that. So it's cool that Furion has all the axes, swords, spears. He can use magic. He has everything because that's what you can do in the game. You can do everything.
Yeah, I think his design was my favorite, and
I really liked Onion.
Do you get? You know what's so funny? I was watching Onion Knight, and I was like, you know who I bet would like this design? Sondi.
Bro, he's so
I knew.
Cool.
I was, for some reason, I think I'm understanding a little bit as we like do so many of these, and I'm just like, I think I'm understanding a little bit more of your tastes, and I'm like, I just feel like Sondi would like Onion Knight. There's a specific scene in the intro cutscene, like when it's CG, where he like jumps and he lands on one of the villains, and he does like this little like he like attacks them really quickly. I'm like, why does that feel like something Sondi would
he just throws him like
he just throws him. Yeah, I was just like, that just
it's so cool. Him and Terra are like the coolest. I love them because in their story mode, you don't expect Onion Knight to be so mature. You expect him to be like the jokester, trickster character. And he's like, no, we can't defeat those guys. Let's talk them out of the ledge. Let's leave. We couldn't win. We got to think about this logically. I'm like, oh, that's weird for this character, but cool. Because I mean, I guess because Onion Knight is one of those blank slate NES characters, just like Warrior of Light, which I thought was really cool. Interesting that they completely flipped him over. You know, even though his alternate costume though does call back to the red guy. I don't think Sprite.
Right.
But yeah, every character looked good. Every single character looked good. It's weird because it's Nomura's art and Nomura's art design. So it's like, of course, Squall, of course, Cloud, of course, Zidane, everybody in the future games, of course, they look the exact same. They look good.
What I do think was ugly, though, about it was the way they implemented summons. I'm not a huge fan of, and I know it's like a cost-saving measure, but I'm not a huge fan of when they do like the whole, oh, here's the image of these characters in 2D, and it like there's like a little glow behind it, and then they just disappear. I'm just like,
but at least it's a mono art, though.
Well, some of it, because some of it is from like Final Fantasy X. They have the three, what are they fucking called? The sisters, the Magus sisters, I think they're called.
Yeah,
like 3 bugs. Yeah, those are Nomura designed. So I guess it depends on what summons you're talking about, but yeah, it was just one of those things where it's like, what the, I don't know. And it was always took me out of the moment or like distracting. I don't know. What did you think about the guardrails? The sliding rails?
I called them the Mako reactors.
Yeah, whatever the rails of hope.
Cool. Like, as a kid, when I played this game, bro, I abused the fuck out of those. I was grinding on rails. I was running up walls, running around the pillars, and just doing stupid shit. But as I played as an adult now, I felt that it disoriented me more than it actually was a useful thing to do in combat, especially on that clock tower map. When you have like that one central part, every time I tried to grind up, I was like, bro, I don't know where I'm at anymore. I'm confused.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old ass man now. Maybe that's what it is. But I thought they were cool additions. You don't expect that to be in this kind of game, you know. You would expect there to be maybe a chocobo you ride, or maybe you call in friends to hop in to do like an assist attack or something. Not, oh, you can grind on chaos energy riding around the map and stuff like that. Or even like when the limit break thing pops up, like the super energy, and it goes like pew, and the giant sparkles pop around it. I'm like, that doesn't seem like it should be in this game, but here we are. It's out of place, but oddly in place at the same time.
Something that I thought was really notable was how they did some of the tutorials outside of combat or before combat. So like, you know, there were the tutorials that showed up before combat and it looked like a fucking, I don't know why, it looked like some sort of marketing like screen grab or something.
I call it there was open options Xbox Live Arcade.
Yeah, like it looked very like, oh, here's a screenshot on a white background, and then here's what to do. Like it felt, but you know, it got the job done. The way they implemented a lot of the side characters from these games in tutorials for other pages, like if you hit the options or the help button at the bottom, and you know, page comes up, like when you first start unlocking a lot of the game's features. I thought that was really clever, and it looked. I think it was a good way for the game to present itself as like, we're using all of the Final Fantasy lore at our disposal. Like no character is gonna go unreferenced here, because they pull out, and you know, I haven't played all the Final Fantasy games, but I could tell that they were using the same like they were speaking the way they do in their own game when they would talk to you. Like it would be like, oh, hey, and then they would say something that you almost knew intrinsically, like, oh, that's probably from the game that they're in, like the way they're saying this, because it was kind of quirky a lot of the time. It was like weird. It's like, what, you know, like, but I guess if you know, you know. But I thought that touch of presenting the tutorials in that way was like really, it's like, this is pretty cool. Like they were kind of fun to read because everybody had like a unique way of saying or giving like the information.
I remember Sid's from Final Fantasy 2's, he had one, and he always is talking about his ship, and he's like, my ship. I mean that's every Sid.
Yeah, that's good.
But he was there, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I guess because I just played Final Fantasy 2 as well, so I was like, oh shit, like, hey, Sid, that's my boy.
Right. Yeah. They had a bunch of characters. I wish I could remember them, but some of them you just knew, like the way they were saying things, that it's a callback to their original game. Yeah. And I wonder if they redid all the art, because they each one had like a little like icon, you know, little character icon when they did.
They had to have been redone for some of those characters. Because I know there was at least, I know there was 2 from Final Fantasy 2 at least in the thingy-mabobber from what I saw. Like I know that there was Sid, and I know that there was Sid, and I can't remember the dude's name, but it's one of the fourth party members that you get in that game. But you get a lot of fourth party members in that game, so I can't really tell you off the top of my head. But other than that, the UI was really clean. Speaking of UI and the help button and everything like that, the menus were really cool. Like they were straight to the point, just dot dot dot.
Yeah, super good. Like straightforward. Yeah.
Except for before you start a game. I thought that was like a list of what could drop. I didn't realize that was the overview of the enemy and their equipment.
Oh, yes. That is a very, very confusing screen.
I was very, like, when are they going to drop a fucking short sword for me? What the fuck?
And I don't know that it was ever explained, because for a while, even in like the beginning, I remember being confused until later on. I was like, oh, wait. This is their equipment, because it's such a weird thing to show.
Unlocking Gabranth, like I beat all the stories, and I was like, "What is this?"
It's such a weird thing to show. I feel like I don't know, like it just, especially because they don't have like their image on there or anything indicating like, oh hey, this is the ghost of whoever you're fighting, and this is their, like, it just has equipment list, and you're just like, oh okay.
Yeah, and I can't scroll through the equipment and see like, oh, this one makes it to where his attack one shots me. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I just go into the game and go, this nigga's broken right now. What the fuck? Especially those golden battles on the Destiny board. I'll be like, yeah, I'm not doing this shit.
Speaking of Destiny boards, though, the sort of personalization that they did with each of the characters' boards was,
yes.
I mean, nice. It was cute. It was a nice touch.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool. You know, you got the Mako for Cloud. You know, Tidus has like, you know, his theme. Like, it's all there. Very cool. I like the touch. And the music is constant. It's like their main. Well, I guess Cloud's wasn't his theme. It was just like one of the main Final Fantasy themes. But
I thought it was like on like a shuffle or something like that. Because sometimes it would do like just a standard dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, but then there's like different renditions of each of the victory themes from around the games. And I never knew if it was like specific to each character or if it was specific to who you were fighting or the stage. Because I peeped it a couple times where it's like, okay, that's the Final Fantasy 7 one. Then a couple times I'm like, oh no, that's the Final Fantasy 1 one. Okay, what's going on? Right.
What did you think about, and since you played all of the characters, I think you'd probably have more influence on this one here. But what do you think about the voice actors?
They get the job done. It's kind of interesting seeing like certain famous voice actors voicing specific characters. It's like, oh shit, Ichigo.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, you got a fucking Sasuke in there too. You got it's all the anime people. They all show up.
Everybody, Vic.
All the anime
everybody.
Heads. All the I think they did a really good job. I think the line so I played in my 9 hours. I played Tidus, Firion, Cloud, Terra, and Squall. And if you Tidus, Firion, and Cloud have a very intertwined story, so I got a lot of them three. Because, you know, the cutscenes sort of relate to each other, which I thought was really neat, by the way. Like, it was a cool way to, like, integrate, like, a full, more complete story, kind of.
Yeah, because there's a very specific order of all of the characters
right.
you're supposed to go through. And you can see it in their stories.
But everyone's delivery was, like, I was like, Tidus, I think even maybe does a little bit better than he does in Final Fantasy X. Cloud sounds great. Firion, I thought, was, like, really good. Of course, it's, like, the cheesy Japanese yeah it's just like, oh my god,
because
he's such a wild roses
in his fucking game and like they have a keyword system in Final Fantasy 2, so when you talk to NPCs you unlock keywords and then you can ask other NPCs that keyword, and the first keyword is wild roses. So it's my god. Okay, that's
it's like they played
thing.
yeah
They played the first 20 minutes to remind themselves.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. Like, fuck, we need something here to give some motive. All right, a field. I want to make the whole world. Wait, what does he say? I want to see the whole world covered in wild roses. I can't remember. Something like super. Like, what, dude? That's your motivation?
It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what do you?
This is a hot take, and I will say this is a little off script, but I would love to see a Final Fantasy 2 game like remade. I feel like that would be the one Final Fantasy that would be good to remake. Final Fantasy 1, keep it pixel, keep it cool. But Final Fantasy 2 and like a Final Fantasy 7 remake, that would go crazy.
I hear a lot of good things about Final Fantasy 4. I hear a lot of 4 and 6. I hear a lot of good things. Well, and then 9 too. But like as far as the pixel ones go, 4 is like, yeah, people swear by that one, which I might have to.
Onion Knight, or is he
might
3?
have to go back.
I don't know.
Terra, I think, is 4. So Onion Knight would be with her in that game. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. Like, it's funny because these characters, even though they look so different, they do kind of like.
They look and act the same.
Yeah, no. Well, like what I want to say is that they sort of like, you believe that they would like know each other in some way, except for maybe Cloud. Cloud is a little too modern looking because he comes from like more of like a, but
like him and Squall maybe, but like,
yeah. But everybody else like looks like they come from the same like world or whatever, which is cool.
Yeah. I thought it was cool. Presentation wise, I have nothing really bad to say other than the stage design, but everything else was pretty spectacular. It's exactly what I expected from Final Fantasy Smash Brothers.
Yeah, it's Square Enix, you know. I mean, the presentation is always going to be like top notch. They have a great art department there, great creative directors and art directors, so that makes a lot of sense. What year did Advent Children come out? Because I wrote down that how like that fucking movie pretty much like they're like, all right, let's make every fight look like this.
2005? This movie is 20 years old? What the fuck?
Yeah, dude, I was playing Darkest Dungeon and I was like, this game is 10 years old.
What the fuck, bro?
Yeah.
Bro, the 360 is 20 years old, bro.
Yeah. We're marching ahead at a steady clip.
We're 20 years. I'm just coming under the realization that I'm old as shit now, and that like there's gonna be a wave of nostalgia of people that are gonna be like, man, Dirge of Cerberus was so good, man. I wish I was born in those times.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for that to come back. For that what do you call it? They're gonna rewrite history and say that everybody loved Dirge of Cerberus. But every YouTuber, I swear, always says it's shit. Every time you see like
except for us.
Yeah, except for us. But like every time you watch a video on you know anything Final Fantasy related and they mention it, it's always like, and that one's not so good. You know, and they always like do a little side comment. And I'm like, what? Like what the?
Bro, it was great. It was heat. Unplug the brain. It's good,
I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I mean, dude, they did something you would never see. And I feel like we talked about this in that episode, but you would just never see that sort of experimentation from Square Enix with a big IP ever again. And everybody didn't like it. Yeah, exactly. Like they're gonna play it safe now, you know, because every time they experiment, people are like, they turn their backs. They're like, nah, that shit was ass.
This is a love letter to all Final Fantasy fans. Like even me, I'm not even like the biggest Final Fantasy head, but now that I'm playing more, like we'll get into it when we get into story, but like callbacks, the references, the small things, like when you see the differences in the costumes and the encounter voices and stuff, it's like there's a lot of soul in this from like this is for diehard almost like PSP Final fans.
Well, I mean, it was one of those things. It was like it had the greatest hits banner on it, you know, like the box, and it was only on PSP for a long time. So if you were a Final Fantasy fan and
you had a PSP,
you had a PSP, exactly. Yeah, that Crisis Core, like you were kind of eating good.
Yeah.
You know? Because I think they also didn't they release the Pixel games also on PSP? Because if they did, I
know they did Final Fantasy Tactics. I know they did that.
Right? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. See, like you were eating good if you had a PSP and were a Final Fantasy fan.
Yeah, you had Siphon Filter. You had Grand Theft Auto, bro. Like the PSP had an incredible lineup. Loco Roco, Patapon. Our favorite game, John d'Arc, bro. I said it wrong, but it's okay. It's okay.
Our favorite. I'm laughing at the fact that you called it our favorite game.
Listen, man.
Because it is great.
We're going to give ourselves when we eventually play that game and be like, I don't remember this game being like this.
You know what game I am scared to kind of go back and play? Because I fear that I won't like it or find it as magical, I guess. Shadow of the Colossus.
No,
I haven't played that since PS2 era, so I'm just like,
go ahead and just play the Blue Point remaster and be like, wow, this is amazing. And then put it back for another 10 years. It's like every 10-year game.
It's one of those things where I'm just like, okay, what game am I just going to keep in, you know, because as we're kind of going through all these games, we're going through games sometimes where I'm just like, okay, we're covering this on the show, and we've already done this. What else do I have left, right? So I think about like, what am I keeping? Like, Shadow of the Colossus is just like gonna never be touched. I don't know. Like, it's kind of hard to say because I mean we've gone through some like very some very personal and nostalgic games, and obviously there's more to go through, but at some point we're gonna kind of run out of games that are like very personal to us.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we are.
I
I think. Well, we don't have a 360, so there's like 4 games on 360 that I'm like, we could play. They're very boater ready. Like Tenchu Z,
God.
Infinite Undiscovery, Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon / Rise Remnant. Like, but those are all JRPGs. Like, I feel like we don't have 360s. You know what I mean? We're not collecting 360s. What are we, dumb?
Right. Although I do kind of want one. I think I might just get like
Look,
a Series X or something at some point when they fucking go
down to $100.
Yeah, I'm waiting, and they will go down. No one's buying them bitches.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go into story. Again, I only played 5 characters out of the 12? I mean, there's actually
10. Yeah.
The villains too. So I don't think I got much of the story. I was trying to. I mean, I got the individual pieces of clouds and then Furians, but I don't know the grand story. I was kind of like a little lost at points.
Yeah,
I was like, what's
especially
going on?
because every story ends with like all the warriors pulling up, and they're like, "Yeah, we
Yeah.
did it," and they're like, "Psych, nuke." You're like,
Yeah,
what the fuck?
Keith David shows up and fucking kills Harmony, or what's her name? Light.
David would do this, bro. Why would he kill Order, bro? It's cool if you're like a diehard Final Fantasy fan. Like those niggas on Twitter that have like fan cams and like, or like, who, if you're a mute, be my mute if you like a Balthier and
oh my god,
those niggas.
Yeah.
This story is for those niggas. Like, it's one of those ones for the people that do fanships and Tumblr posts and shit. It's like, the story isn't even like it's really going into anything deep. It's just going into the main motivations of each character and then contrasting that with another character. Like, for example, Furion trying to find his purpose, being tied up with Cloud,
Titus,
who also is trying to find his purpose, and Titus, or Squall and Cloud both meshing together because they're the cool guys. We're the cool guys. Or Titus and Cecil. How the fuck do you say his name? Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Both sound right, but I don't know
Yeah.
which one's the correct way.
Titus and Cecil, as they have their family troubles, because both of their villains are related to them family wise, so they're talking about that and what they want to do and how they still want to save their family. So you get those themes intermixed, but the Destiny board, I hate it. It's not fun. We'll talk about it later in the gameplay section, but just story wise, you have to go through each story, and then you're doing these random battles until you do this boss battle, and then you get one cutscene that's like 5 minutes long. And then you go through another 20 minutes of gameplay, then get another 5-minute cutscene. And it doesn't even feel satisfying because you don't get an ending resolution to each character. Yeah, they get their crystal and it's like, cool, you did your thing. But that's not the end of the story. As you see at the end of every story when Keith David comes and nukes the world. Yeah. So once you beat everybody's story, or one person's story, I think you only have to do in the American version, then you go and you do a story. You choose any character you want, and then you go and you fight pretty much a gauntlet of like all of the villains. And then you fight Chaos as the final boss, and you defeat Chaos. But apparently there was 2 more Warriors of Light, which is Gabranth and the little person from Final Fantasy 11. And then you guys fight Chaos. You guys defeat Chaos. And everybody gets sent back to their world. And this is the coolest shit ever. I'm not going to lie. I was like, this shit is cool. So in Final Fantasy 1, there's a very famous text crawl that pops up once you like finish the prologue, where you're over a hill and it's the 4 Warriors of Light, and the Final Fantasy music plays, and it's a
Right.
giant text crawl. So the game ends, and it's the Warrior of Light on that same hill, and it does the same camera pan as the NES game,
Yeah.
and plays the music, and that's how the game ends with everybody being sent back to the world. And I was like, that's cool. That's what I'm saying. It's a story for Tumblr niggas, so they can make that into a GIF and be like, oh my god.
Tumblr niggas, yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
not nothing of substance. It's not going to change your opinion on Fury, and it's not going to make you think about Terra in any different light or any of the villains or anything like that. They're very cut and dry. It's like expecting the story out of Marvel versus Capcom Infinite to make sense.
Right. To be like really compelling.
Yeah.
I did like the sort of like, and this could just be, you know, us in the future sort of pontificating on what they were thinking in 2008 and 2009, you know, when they were writing the story or whatever. But I did like the sort of meta questioning of why they're fighting, or at least the three characters I played as had that like narrative of just like, why are we choosing to fight, you know, which is like sort of meta because like they're video game characters. Why are we here? Why are we fighting these people? You know, like Cloud's like, I have no reason to fucking, what's your reason?
Yeah.
Like, we're just here. And it's almost like a commentary on like, they were all, like all the writers were in the room, especially the Nomura. He's like, dude, I don't know. All my wildest ideas are invested in Kingdom Hearts right now. Why don't we just have them like question why they're fighting? Because we actually don't know why they're all together, you know? Like they
it
all
doesn't
need to
matter
find
why
their...
they're all together. Let's just make them talk about that. There you go.
Yeah. So I did like that. It was fun. It was somewhat interesting to see them try and figure that out. But yeah, ultimately a lot of it did feel paper thin. Some of the interactions are cool. Obviously seeing someone like, you know, Tidus interact with Cloud, because that's like just cool. It's kind of like Avengers Endgame, you know, where when everybody comes together and like, or Infinity
Ant-Man
War,
getting a taco from the Hulk, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, or you see like, you know, Thor interact with like, you know, Star-Lord and, you know, like other characters like talk, and it's like cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now go do your own things again.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's all I knew about the story. I didn't really, I mean, there's the Keith
that's what
David
else would
thing,
happen.
but...
That was another thing. So there's like this weird, so you remember, you've played a couple of them where like, you know, those random moments where the villains are having like those text boxes talking with each other.
Yeah.
So it's all alluded to, and then it's eventually revealed at the end, spoilers, I guess, that Garland, which is the main villain from Final Fantasy 1, which is on brand, because in Final Fantasy 1, he does become Chaos. He does, like, he's a past version of Chaos that got sent back, and he's there to kind of orchestrate everything so that he could get the power of the crystals to destroy Order or Light or whatever the fuck her name was. Good. So Chaos could destroy everything. So he has a moment where Garland's like, wait, what? I'm you? Wait, what the fuck? So that was a cool little reveal, but we already knew that if you played Final Fantasy 1. But
wow, you fucking... I didn't know that.
Yeah, you would have known that if you played Final Fantasy 1, not the remake on Game Boy Advance.
I missed the old Sondi. The one who didn't play Final Fantasy 1 and 2 and wasn't a snob now. That was my Sondi. When we first played Final Fantasy 12 and he was like...
Wow,
you know,
those chocobos.
Yeah,
bro,
that's the Sondi I miss.
Are cool. Yeah, man. I honestly, now that we talk about it, Final Fantasy is one of those series that the more Final Fantasies you play, the more jaded you get.
Why?
Because you play them and you're like...
Because there's so many?
Not even that, but because like each one does something different. And you're going to already have your favorite. So you're just playing the other ones just to see what they were like. Not to change your mind on your favorite, but just to be like, I'm playing this so I can say that I played it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not like playing Musashi Samurai Legends and then being like, I'm going to go back and play Brave Fencer Musashi so I can see the differences. It's not going to change your opinion on Musashi Samurai Legends being one of your favorite games. You know what I'm saying? It's just gonna be. Yeah, I played Brave Fencer. It was all right. You're already jaded because the first one, you already are jaded on that one. You're like, this is the one.
I was kind of curious about the term Dissidia and where it came from. Do you know anything about this?
Nope. Nothing I could. I tried to look up as much research as I could to figure out what the fuck Dissidia came from, but it just seems like it's a dumbass name that Nomura came up with.
So Dissidia is actually a plural form of Dissidium, which means discord or disagreement. So there you go. A little etymology lesson for all you guys out there. You learned something new, at least once in this podcast, maybe. But yeah, it's related to like the verb. Yeah, no, it's a real word. Yeah, it's related to the verb dissidiare, which means to disagree. So,
which makes sense with the internal conflict of Leighton.
So try to fit that into your next discussion with somebody.
Be like, there's too much Dissidia going on right now. Calm down.
There's a whole lot of Dissidia. I'm getting anxious.
Them niggas over there are in a Dissidia. I'm getting away before I get shot.
Yeah. But officer, we were just.
It was just a Dissidia officer. Nothing serious.
Nothing serious. They're like, what? A Dissidia officer? God, you fucking troglodyte. All right. Let's move into gameplay. This is sort of where Dissidia shines the most, but also it's like a double-edged sword, this game, I think, its gameplay.
Yes.
Like I mentioned before, the animations are like great, fantastic, but I do think that the timing on the animations makes the combat and the rhythm of combat feel very floaty and a little bit of like, to me, it just felt like I couldn't control. Like I didn't have enough control over things.
Yes.
Like never mind. Like I actually played on a PSP. Never mind how, like those buttons can feel sometimes, but it just didn't feel snappy, and it felt like some animations were taking too long, and I just wasn't like fully in control. Like once you launch that, forward and circle or square or whatever, it's like you're committed and you're just like, all right, I guess I have to wait here and get fucking stun locked by this fucking fire. Like it's a consequence of the stylized combat, but I think it really is. I think it supports what I'm saying about it being a double-edged sword, because it looks cool and you do get that feeling of like, the Advent children. Yeah, you get the Advent children like, damn, these are badass fights. I'm doing something cool. But then at the same time, you do lose a little bit of heft. There's a lot of floatiness, and you just have it just felt, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's people that are like, oh yeah, I just feel like you maybe don't understand the mechanics, or sort of like
I could probably pull up some combo breaker top 8 brackets for Dissidia right now, where it's like a completely different game or some shit. But I know what you mean. It's easy to pick up, but it's hard to master. And at first glance, when you're playing it for an hour or 30 minutes or so on the back of the bus or on the way to work or something like that, it's fun to just run up a wall as Cloud and then run up and smack somebody with a big ass sword. It feels good. But then once you start going deeper and you start leveling up and getting into the more harder content, then you start to realize there's certain flaws with it. Like I've never understood the block / parry. Like, why do I have to press the button at the right time? Like, that's weird. Why not just let me hold it down so I can just block it? And then I just take a little bit of chip damage. Why do I have to dodge at the right time? And then you start seeing it later in times when the AI starts to read your movements. That was a lot of the frustration that I had, where I would be launching a move, just like not a HP move, but a bravery move, and the AI would dodge it. And then I would launch the attack again, and they would keep dodging it, and we would have these little dodge loops. And I'm like, bro, when am I ever going to hit you? Like, please.
That's a good point. That was I didn't write anything about the AI, but they would just read all your moves. So it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do then? These are all the buttons you gave me, all the attacks I have. You're dodging everything. And so some of the matches would last longer than they needed to. And you just be like, fuck, this is bullshit.
Yeah,
you know?
and then you get hit by one of their attacks and it's instantly break, instantly one-shot killing you. It's like, oh my God, bro, I'm not doing this again.
Mm-hmm. Exactly how I felt. And that's sort of why I was like, you know what, I'm not going to put more time into this game. I just don't. This is so frustrating. Especially as Terra was awful to play as, I have to say.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I have a full breakdown of every character right.
Do you?
Yes.
What'd you put for Terra?
Yeah, Terra, I put the same thing. I said she feels like shit.
Like, I'm like, dude, what? Who would play as you? Like, it just didn't make any sense. Like,
a lot of characters didn't feel good, and it doesn't help that I started with not okay, because there's like when you go through the story mode, there's a level for each person or whatever like that.
Difficulty ranking on how difficult they are to use, which is helpful. For
me, I started with the Warrior of Light because I was like, that's cool. He's a cool guy. He was in a tutorial. I'm gonna just go with the Warrior of Light. I don't difficulty. No.
Isn't he a 1-star? I thought.
No, he's like a 10-star or some crazy shit. He's like the hardest one.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, this shit whooped my ass, and I had to stop playing as it. I just had to quit the story mode, and then I went back, and I think I did Furion first, and then Titus, and then I just didn't feel good playing as either one of those. I was like, they don't feel good. Furion, I like his like. He can use different weapons and he can shoot a bow.
His concept is cool, but yeah.
Yeah, but having that long ass bow attack be your only HP attack. As Titus having to dodge at first, I was like, oh, this is cool. He can dodge and do all this cool doohickeys and stuff. That's cool. But then it's like, bro, I just want to hit him. Now I'm jumping over him and I fucked up and now I missed and now I'm getting hit. Fuck this. But then Cloud is just stupid dumb. Just hit him. And I love it.
I did, Cloud felt the best for sure. I did feel like I was missing something. I felt like, I'm like, okay, am I not? Like, I'm trying to use all the moves at my disposal here. The dodging, the Mako reactor rails. What, is there a mechanic that I'm not utilizing here that's making this so difficult? How, like, I can't cancel out of shit. So like, how am I?
That's the thing. You can't like do like a dodge cancel and be like, "Oops, sorry, didn't mean to do it," or anything to juke somebody. You're just stuck.
Yeah. So it's just like, this is a long ass match, or just like boring chasing him. Oh, his brave's down, but now it's up. Oh, he runs away. I have to chase him. Now I have to run away because my brave's
his summon
down
activated. So now I'm at 1 bravery.
Yeah, it's exactly. Or now he's at triple bravery because now I got him to do like. Just like, damn, like this is fucking.
I just want to fight, bro.
Yeah. So I think it gets in its own way. I think with some of those ideas, there is a sort of cleverness to the mechanic of like, okay, they have a shield essentially, which is called Brave in the game, and you whittle at that shield with a certain attack, and then you finish them off with like a health or HP attack. I think that's kind of fun.
And I guess that makes sense because you're meant to attack with the bravery and then do one big attack to just kill him straight out in one attack instead of a bunch of smaller attacks. Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. I think maybe I would have just liked it if it wasn't like that.
If it was just, if that was just straight hands, no
shields. Yeah, just like, okay, let me just chip away at your health. You can chip at mine. I don't need this bravery thing that like restores and you can triple it and brave break and then I don't know, it was
a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. But and a lot of the characters don't like other than Garland, all and Inject. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
And Sephiroth. All of the villains felt like ass. Most of the characters felt like ass.
I thought you were gonna be like, okay. I thought you were gonna say the opposite, but yeah.
Yeah. So, and it doesn't help. Okay, after I beat the game and I recorded all the footage and stuff, I went and I got some cheat codes. I got some action replay stuff. I maxed out everybody to 99 because I was like, I refuse to believe, because I got like, after like you do the final story, you can pick one character. I think I got Cloud to up to like level 50 or something of the sorts like that. And I never got an HP move. And I was like, hold on. Like, this is getting ridiculous. Like, where the fuck is the new moves?
Right.
Nobody has any new moves. Nobody unlocks anything new. Like, everybody unlocks a lot of circle moves, but nobody unlocks a lot of square moves. And I think that's the main issue that I have with the combat, is that because you're playing these characters and they expect you to grind and get better so you can get different skills and mess around with the parameters of like how you want your dash to be. Do you want it to be a free dash, or you want to dash towards or away from the enemy? Do you want to auto recover or auto summon and all that stuff? Having those options are cool, but then not having any options other than that long ass bow attack, it's boring. It's very gross. Like, you have this character. It's, for example, speaking of Fury, and because Final Fantasy 2 is the latest game I played, you have this character and they have the ability to literally do anything. They're a weapon master. They can use every weapon. They can use every spell. They can do everything. So why not make my HP attacks be my magic? Why can't I have haste or Blizzaga or something of the sorts like that? Why am I stuck using just this bow move and I'm level 60? Like that.
Right.
And every character is like that. So if you don't like how a character, like specifically for me, Cecil, I like the idea of switching between the light and dark forms, but I hated that you had to use ground attacks and light and different forms. It didn't feel good because neither of the abilities had that much range. So I was like, I like this character, but I don't like these particular moves, but I don't unlock any moves to make them better. So now I'm stuck. That's honestly a lot of the characters, is that they're good when you first try them and you're like, okay, this is cool. This is interesting. Zidane, cool, interesting. Yeah. But then once you get deeper in, you're like, okay, I want more. And the game doesn't give you more. It just gives you more modes to play, but not more options to play.
Yeah, no, it's a problem with just like the base game design, I would say, of how they designed, the combat system. It's just like very based on like, no, this one move has to be slow, and it has to be, I guess it has to feel like, it's almost like 50-50. Like it feels like a very lucky, like if I, like there's so many times where I'm like, oh wow, I got him, cool. Like just by chance. It never felt like skillful. Like I was like, all right, And the problem for me was that I was playing this concurrently with Stellar Blade, which, I mean,
yeah, that's a big difference.
It is, and I'm bouncing between those two games, and you just notice a lot more in game feel and quickness, and like, tactility, and how things like, there's just a lot of elements that I'm like, damn, this game really just, I mean, granted they're different games entirely, but just the punchiness of things and how things feel was very, very absent. Which, I don't know, it might have just been a bad time to play the game because I was playing it alongside such a, action focused game.
Yeah, because I was playing this alongside Dragon's Dogma, and I was like,
yeah,
or Dragon's Dogma 2 at least. I was like, this ain't really. But I mean, to be fair, the game doesn't help itself, because primarily the way that you unlock characters and the way that you progress the story is through story mode. You're not going to play arcade. I mean, you could play arcade mode, or you could play just quick battle and stuff like that. Yeah, but you have to play story mode, which is this board game where you have these different pieces, and there's these destiny points. So you have certain, like, if you go to this person and they have a challenge, like beat this person in 10 seconds, or beat this person without taking damage, and you'll get an extra destiny point, and then you get graded on that by the time that you get to the end of the board and fight the boss and move on to the next. But then they throw in like this random piece that's level 32 And you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? What the fuck? Or you'll throw in a random person that's like a gold piece, and you'll be like, okay, cool, I'll go fight that for the loot. And it's the most absurd AI, most broken shit that you have ever played in a video game. And I think that reminded me that this is an arena fighter that's trying to masquerade as a JRPG, that's trying to masquerade as an arena fighter. There's equipment, there's summons, there's leveling up, there's skill points. It's like, and you have to build correctly or else you will die. Like, you can't just go in and just be like, I'm gonna just level 1 challenge this. You will die if you go into that story mode without leveling up your character. And it takes a lot out of it, because I just want to fight with other Final Fantasy characters. I don't want to do all this shit, bro.
It's pretty ambitious to combine the JRPG and fighting, or like arena fighter models. I think that ambition does give us something very unique, you know? But like, if the combos, maybe the animations, if they were maybe more different, snappier, more varied, if characters played like more... There's so many characters that just feel the same. You're just like, yeah, this is not a character I'm gonna like no matter what. Like, there's not like like the characters don't seem to have roles. You know, like, you know, fighting games have like roles, and you're like, oh, this is more my style. Like, they all just feel like, okay, this is a drawn out animation, and they just suck. Like, I guarantee there's a character that, like, if you were to look at like the statistics of what character people played most, it'd probably be like, it'd probably be like a couple, and they're the easier ones for sure. Yeah,
Warrior of Light, Sephiroth. That's probably it. I'm so mad, bro. You don't understand. Because Final Fantasy 12 is my favorite Final Fantasy. Shout out to Final Fantasy 12 episode. I was like, I had a goal. I was like, I'm gonna grind until I unlock Gabranth, because I want to see how he plays. I didn't even know this nigga was in the game. I went through the whole game, and Gabranth is the worst character in the game.
That's so wild. So wild.
I cried.
Do they get like a story mode, the villains?
Yeah, they get their own story modes.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess what I do like, and what works about the game is, in trying to fuse arena fighter and JRPG, I think what they do get right is a sense of progression, which I think is cool because it adds longevity to the game, and as opposed to it just being like, oh, here's just arcade mode and story mode, and that's it. You can't really do anything else. Like, there's no leveling up, there's no, you know, equipment. But I do think that they overcomplicated some of the equipment, like the battle gen accessories. I'm just like, what the fuck is this shit? I feel like I was reading like some D&D shit.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what is this?
Bro,
like, why
I
is
would
it
just
so
let
hard
it
to
do
read?
its thing. I was like, I'm not about to try none of this shit. I'm about to just let it do its thing. What the fuck is this? I'm not accessory making in the middle of combat. What the fuck?
Yeah, the accessory. I'm like, what did these mean? Why are these so complicated? And essentially the way I understood how it works is that so let's say you have 4 slots. If you pick one accessory that's like, when you're wall running, you get times two something. That activates the next accessory that you have. So if you have like an accessory that has, let's say, 20 attack, when you're on a wall, it'll double that. So those 2 accessories kind of like complement each other. So they sort of stack in that way. So you can like pick an accessory that's like, okay, this one is HP 300, we'll say. But if I'm limit break, or if my brave is broken or whatever, then it'll double by 1.5. So there's like it's almost like the system in Final Fantasy 12, the Gambit system. Is that what it was called? I forget the name of it.
Yeah, it was the Gambit system, but what the fuck are you talking about?
That is it. That's what it was. I thought.
No, it is the Gambit system, but I don't know what the fuck I didn't know that was what it was. I thought it was.
Yeah. Why? Because I looked into it. No, like it's very like dependent on like there's a whole fucking like there's like 3-4 pages of it in
bro, and it's fucked
in
up.
the game.
I read that shit and I still didn't know what the fuck they were
you
talking
didn't
about.
It's weird. It's weird, and I didn't like it, and I still like some of it. Still doesn't like read right. Like if you look at it, it's not self-explanatory. Like it's just like, wait, what does this mean? Like it has a picture of like something, like a hieroglyphic. Yeah. And I'm like, why don't you just say what it is? Like just let me press like triangle and it'll give me a full detail of like, if you do this, then you get this. But instead it's like some like caveman hieroglyphic with a number, like some algebraic like formula.
Accessory, and then this is like, what the fuck are we talking about? Yeah. It's so weird. It's
super weird. And yeah, so I think that ruins it because you feel like you're missing out on some important aspect, especially if you're losing. You're like, okay, I don't understand the accessory system. I am fucking doing everything I can in this battle. So maybe there's some connection here. Like, how is this guy so powerful? He's only like a level above me. It's just, I don't know. There's a lot of different things. So I
wish that the story wasn't tied to the Destiny board. I wish that instead it was just arcade mode. You do your arcade after a couple battles. There's a cutscene, yada, 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 until you finish, you know. And then there could have been like the secret ending is tied behind this side mode with the board game. Because there is like a roguelike mode kind of sort of called Dual Coliseum where you have like, you can unlock jobs and they give you certain buffs and passives and stuff in the combat, and you choose who you want to fight and look at their equipment, and you can get random equipment added to you and stuff. So like it has cool modes, and all those modes allow you to level up and upgrade your character, but it's like though it puts you right into the combat, whereas the Destiny board, especially being tied to the story mode, it drains you, so that by the time that you finish story mode, if you go through all 12 characters.
Right.
You're like, I don't want to do this shit. Because even the final story mode isn't even like just one long ass story. It's like you finish that one story and then it's like a whole 7 chapter thing. Like, so it's like 7 more story modes to go through. It's a lot, bro. Like, do you know what the fuck the point of the Chocobo Idol game was?
That was one of my next points. No. So bizarre to me. It felt very Japanese. It felt like a very like, oh, play on this day and you'll get, what day do you play the most? And
you'll get 2 times EXP on this day and you'll get 3 times the gil on this day. Like, what the fuck? I'm not playing this on Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it was interesting. I think it made it feel like more of a live, I don't want to say live service game, but it made the game feel more like it was connected to like online or something, and more like I guess like a live service game where it's like you get these perks and it tracks when you're playing and all this. But I do want to add something about the gameplay that was kind of cool. That I really, really appreciated was the command style for combat. Did you fuck with that?
Yeah, I thought that was really cool too. I thought it was cool. I didn't fuck with it, but I mean, I did fuck with it, but I didn't fuck with it like...
You didn't fuck with it, right?
I didn't fuck with it, but I fucked with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It was really cool. Like, I played it like that for a little bit with both Terra and Squall. And oh wait, no, I didn't play it with Squall. But anyways, it's basically an auto battle, and it's more menu based, you know. So you're selecting what the character does, and you can just like, it feels almost more natural in a way, because it's playing it more like a JRPG, where you're just like selecting, okay, I want you to attack now, and so they'll keep attacking until you change the the attack.
Like attack with a bravery now and stuff.
Yeah. It makes the battles last longer, I will say. But
that's why I didn't fuck with it.
Yeah. Less entertaining too. But it was a nice feature. I thought it was kind of cool, like, to add that, like, let's acknowledge our JRPG roots, turn-based roots. Let's add this little mechanic in there.
You know what it is? As we talk about this, I realized what has been itching at me in the back of my head talking about this game. It's because each attack is multiple attacks. So like you'll press the button one time and it's a 16 hit combo. instead of me pressing the button 16 times and getting a 16-hit combo. So it feels automated.
That's what I'm
I didn't like well, I'm not talking about like with command mode, but just in general. And it just makes it feel weird to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I press square and I'm doing the entire cross slash. Like, I would feel much better if I pressed square each time and I had to time it correctly for each square attack to make it like do extra damage or some shit, you know? Just small things.
It's actually my problem with... I think there's a time and place for those flashy animations, those long drawn animations. But I think when I was playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I started to notice the same thing where I would do an attack and at some point it felt like control was taken away from me for this animation to play out, where I was like, I just felt like I wasn't doing much anymore. And I lost a little bit of the control that I had. Like, there were so many times where I was like, no, I don't want to attack right now, but like I'm still attacking, and I couldn't get out of it. I noticed that
a lot with like playing as Tifa.
Yeah.
Like, you press one attack and she's doing like a full 4-hit combo. You're like, whoa.
Yeah. And that's the trick when you're doing something turn-based versus doing something not live action, but action-based, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I guess action-based is the best word.
Where I think that if you're doing it turn-based, it's fun to like just press that button, let your character go off, do their thing, and then you're done. You know, with on the other side of the spectrum, if you're pressing square and your character is doing like a whole move and you lose control for a second and then you miss and they're still doing the move, and then you know, it's just like, fuck, I wish I had more control over what was happening.
Right. It's okay to whiff, but I'm not like, imagine in Street Fighter 6 if I did an entire bread and butter on block, like you'll be like, all right, bro. It's like I whiff on purpose. Like you miss these attacks on purpose, but you're supposed to be punished for them. But don't let me do the entire animation.
It's Street Fighter 6 has like the easy mode, right? What, dynamic mode or something, where it's like you can assign
you
a whole
square.
Like then they'll pretty much do what we're talking about, which is like a whole fucking like a special move, or I think you can assign like a combo string or something to it, but I guess it's snappier.
Yeah, but you still have to press square for each attack. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
It's not like,
and you can cancel out of most of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can still do specials. You can swap to other moves and specials and stuff like that. So it's a little more. It's easy, but it's not easy. You know.
I mean, yeah, that's all I have to say about the gameplay.
Yeah, touche. It just. I'm interested in this series. Like, I want to play NT. I want to play Duodecimo.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see how they expand on this, because I feel like a lot of the complaints that we have are probably ironed out in later.
I actually have never heard good things about NT on console.
Yeah,
so but I don't know.
But the only thing I've ever heard about NT was just that, you know, it was 3v3 instead of 1v1, so that kind of took a lot out of the gameplay, because it's like I had to. But it's like, I mean, yeah, you got way more. It's probably a lot more characters in NT compared to Dissidia. They probably got tertiary characters and shit like that. So,
what else do we have to say about it? About Dissidia?
Would you recommend it? Would you recommend people play it? Like, if you got a PSP or a modded PSP or one of those iPhone emulators, would you recommend people play this game, Dissidia?
I think so. I mean, it's dependent on who. Like, if you know,
like if Dissidia was a bar, would you recommend people go there? Be like, yeah, the bathroom's kind of shitty and the drinks were kind of watery, and the DJ was kind of ass.
Yeah,
there was no bitches there for real.
There's no bitches, and the bar was also closed. But
I would recommend you go there. It's pretty good.
I think I would recommend it. Just, you know, it's like an anime game. You know? So it's like, depending on who I'm recommending it to. If you have a PSP, it'd be like, it's a must if you have a PSP, but I'm not gonna say go out of your way to emulate it or do any of that shit.
Yeah.
I do think that
the ability to play Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai, you could also play Dissidia as well. Just get both.
I think it's also a game that like is a good one. I would want to add it to my collection. I have it on my PSP as a digital thing, a digital copy, but it would be, I think next time I see either that one or the second one, which I think have probably gone up in price now, I would pick them up because those do feel very, they just feel like premium PSP games. And
yes, from what I do remember of the second game, you do have an overworld that you walk around in. I do remember that from the little bits that I did play of it. Like I remember playing as Lightning and like running to the save point and saving and then running to the next battle and stuff like that. So maybe it's a little bit more, oomph in its WAP. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they add more HP attacks per person other than 2.
Maybe. I do remember playing as Lightning too, but I don't remember the overworld thing. It's interesting. I think I might have only played the demo of Duo Decim because I think by that point I already had like a PS3 when it came out, so I was already kind of like over the PSP, I guess. So yeah, I'm fine.
Exactly.
I don't know. Would you recommend it? Would you collect it? Like if you saw a physical copy?
Yeah, I would. Because it's novel. It's cool. It's still Final Fantasy. Like, even though I was raging my ass off playing this game, and even though I forced myself, even though I was like you, where I was like, I think I'm good with what I've played, I still felt satisfied playing through the story mode because the payoff of the finale was really rewarding, especially coming off of a recent playthrough of that game and seeing that callback immediately. It was like, yo, that's cool. So, I mean, and if you're a diehard Final Fantasy fan, you've probably already played this, or you probably already have it, or even if you like Final Fantasy in a mild way, you're going to get everything that you ever wanted out of a Final Fantasy game here. I don't want to say everything you ever wanted out of a Final Fantasy game. Let me rephrase that. Everything you ever wanted out of a Final Fantasy fighting game here.
Right.
Quotations. So, yeah, pick it up. Pick up the second one. Pick up NT, even though...
Pick them all up.
Pick them all up, man. I got NT back here. It's still in the plastic. I'm ripping it out the plastic. Let's...
Well, that's all we got. That's it.
Get out of here.
Make sure you comment. We love to see the same 3 people comment. Please. Love it. Share this with your friends if anybody else is nostalgic. Share it with your mom. Share it with your cousins. Share with whoever.
Share with your weird coworker that always mentions that he doesn't play Call of Duty. He's not one of those gamers. Share it with him. He'll enjoy
Share with him. Yeah, exactly. And you'll know if he really is in the know if he knows this game. I feel like you could really go through our list of games and be like, oh, we have a person out. Like there's a specific type.
There's a spot. Yeah, that dude on Backlog kind of did check us, bro, where he was like, oh, I thought y'all just like commercial failures published by big publishers. And I was like,
wait, what? Wait, I've totally missed this. What are you talking about? What?
Somebody, because I'm on Backlog, I have like a list of all of like the Back of the Rack games that we played. And I was right. And he was like, it was like another game I played recently. He was like, oh, I thought you guys would cover this on Back of the Rack. And I was like, nah, not this one. It's too new. And he was like, oh, I thought you guys covered like only like commercial failures from like big publishers and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, because we don't only do that. Again, long neglected, not respected. Games nobody heard of and everybody loves, or so there's a whole thing,
Yeah,
so
like nobody's checking for Toro Q or Fear Effect.
Yeah, he's pigeonholing us, but I think we do what he says, but also we do a lot more. So fuck him, and
When we bring back this Crimson Tears episode, y'all not gonna know what to do with us.
Yeah.